All right, welcome back, everybody. We are joined by Oregon State student athletes Taylor Jones and Talia von Oelhoffen and head coach Scott Rueck. I'll invite Scott to get us started with an opening statement and then open it up to you all for questions.
Thank you, John. Well, first off, it's just great to be here with all of you. And this is special. We missed this a year ago. This is a special day for our conference, for all of us involved. Pac-12 does an amazing job, and so it's a privilege to be here, and obviously great to be back after the year we just all experienced together and apart, unfortunately. We are excited about this year for many reasons, two of which are next to me, but these two represent a group that is deep and talented, has a little bit of everything. As I look at them in practice, you want a team that doesn't have weakness, and I think this team can absolutely become that this year. The character, the skill level, the competitiveness, every day is kind of like we're coaching a bunch of pros, is how it feels. And that's really special to be a part of. There's been a few times in my career where I could say I've been in a gym where that's as consistent as this time, and those teams have done very special things. And so I feel like this team is poised to do very special things this year, and couldn't be more excited.
Okay. I'm going to go first over here. Michelle Smith, Pac12.com. Talia, this is a question for you. Welcome back to your freshman year again.
Thank you.
The experience that you got to have last year and the circumstances behind it, and then coming in again for, basically a second season. I just wanted to kind of know what you're thinking and how you feel like that's going to improve your level of play. And then just Scott on Talia and having that opportunity last year and what it means for her ability to impact your team this year.
Yeah, I think playing at this level is definitely something that you don't really know until you experience it. So having that experience going into my freshman year is just a blessing, and I feel like, I just learned a lot of lessons from it, and it's really going to help me going into my freshman year already having that experience.
In looking at what she did last year, first off, it was remarkable for all of us to witness, to absorb a system in 2 practices and then to play in a Pac-12 game, and to hit a 3 the first time she touches a ball in college when she's actually in high school was amazing. And then everything that she did throughout the remainder of the year was remarkable. There are certain things that no matter what we do as teachers and coaches, you cannot replicate. Playing against Kiana Williams, playing against Anna Wilson, playing against South Carolina's guards. There's certain things that we could use scout guys, there's just no way to replicate it. And so I thought Talia did a fantastic job, or I know she has, taking those lessons last year, which were a lot of positives, but also some tough ones, and being honest with herself and saying, okay, this is where I need to go in my game. And then applying those lessons, and where we could see, okay, she's in the best shape of her life now. She's understood, where she needs to go. So that was a massive advantage for her going into this year, and she's handling those things really well and is better prepared, for it. So what a great example she was for all of us on how to, handle adversity and then flourish with it and now grow from it.
Yeah, and I think to add one more thing, not only the competition I was playing against, but just to be able to play behind Aaliyah Goodman and just learn from her, and just the leadership that she showed on the team, and just her skill at the point guard position. So just being able to watch that up close and get to go against it in practice every day made me a lot better as a player. So having that going into this year, it was super special.
Kevin Dana with Pac-12 Network. So Talia, just to follow up on that, as what you were supposed to be a high school senior last year, and kind of going through that maybe a year early, what was kind of going through your mind as you're trying to process all this new stuff that perhaps you thought was going to be coming a year later?
There's a lot going through my mind, and sometimes there was absolutely nothing going through my mind because it was just it happened so fast. It was like a whirlwind. And yeah, at times it was overwhelming. So I kind of just went with the flow of everything. Obviously, it's something that hasn't really been done before. So there was a lot of unknown with that. So I really just took it one day at a time and just gave it all I had every day. And just trying to soak up everything I could and learn from the coaches and the players. Yeah.
And then, Coach, she was part of a recruiting class that this year is really good and is still top 10 in the country with her, I guess, technically not in that recruiting class anymore. What can you tell us about the incoming freshmen you have this year?
Well, it's a special group of three. Talia would have been a McDonald's All-American, in my opinion, had she stuck around. She was a Jordan Brand kid. Greta Camp-Schroeder was both of those. And then the addition of A.J. Marat, who was a late addition but a perfect addition and filled a void for us. They're three dynamic players that, you could make an argument that those are three people that could easily be four-year starters in their college career. They have athleticism, they have strength, and they have skill. And I've already commented on the characters through the roof. They're amazing teammates. Greta has a little bit of Michaela Pivic, a little bit of Kat Tudor. And for those of you who's been watching us, those are big compliments. And not to put pressure on her, but that's the best way to describe her. She's a catch-and-shoot first player that has the ability to take you off the dribble, mix it up, fight for every rebound, just like Mick used to. And, that's an impactful person. And then AJ has a level of athleticism that, we lost through a transfer last year in Sasha leaving, but she's filling that void. And that's a great defender, a rebounder, unbelievable mid-range pull-up, and then knocks down open threes as well. And so two great talents to go along with Talia in this class. We're really excited.
Elise Woodward, Pac-12 Networks. Taylor, your length defensively has been a key for you guys, and you get your buddy Kennedy back, who's a great shot blocker. Defensively, with her back and with you, the combination, just what do you feel like you can do back there? And I'll take your thoughts too, Scott, after Taylor's done.
Yeah, the other day in practice, Scott said that there should be no layups given. If you look at our post presence, I'm 6'4", Kennedy is 6'6", and Yelena is 6'9". So I think that our defense around the rim is going to be something that you can't score on. And with the new addition, not new, but Kennedy coming back, she takes pride in defense, and that is her specialty. And so she's just making all of us better, and I think that she's going to make the team better by coming back, and we're super, super excited.
Yeah, I'd say, Taylor's done a great job evolving defensively and impacting shots for 2 years now. Her length is special, as we all know. Nobody keeps the ball higher than Taylor Jones either, by the way, maybe the best ever. I've never seen anybody do what she does, the way she does offensively with the ball, and that's obviously defensive rebounding as well. Kennedy, I've said it since day one, she's the most natural defensive post player that I've ever had. Angles, she knew it. We didn't really have to teach anything. What she did as a freshman and what Taylor joined her in defending Beatrice Montpremier, their freshman year at Miami was unbelievable against a WNBA talent like that. That was two freshmen that just basically took her out of the game. Then you add to that Yelena Mitrovic, who has come back in completely different condition this year. Now that she's healthy for the first time for more than a year, she's as skilled of a 6'9" player as you could possibly imagine. She's guardish, actually, with her skills, and now she's able to play longer. She's able to be quicker and make multiple efforts on one possession. And so between the three of them, that rivals what I would say was probably the best defensive team I've ever coached, which was our Final Four team. And certainly we've got some, that's got to evolve. But when you think of what Ruth Hamblin was with Marie Gulich and Bree Brown and Colby Oram, this group is very similar to that, which is very exciting.
Hey, Scott, ladies, thanks for being here. Ann with the Pac-12 Network. Jump in at any point, but all three of you, any of you, there was a time last year. Hey, Scotty. There was a time last year where things were looking pretty grim for you guys. And I think folks were kicking some dirt on what they thought was going to be a graveside service for you folks. And yet what you did down the stretch in the Pac-12 tournament, getting to the big dance, if you could talk about, is that as rewarding a time, or can you compare that to as rewarding a time as you have had as a coach? And players, how you just would not quit on the season. It was pretty cool to behold.
Well, I think last year was such a weird year. We were constantly disrupted, of course. Everybody would say that. For us, we were a team that needed time. We had so many new faces last year. I mean, even Talia Corsdale was coming off an injury. Then we're figuring out life without Kennedy. We had so many new. Who's Aaliyah Goodman as the alpha leader basically last year? She had to figure herself out. Obviously, one wing, we were brand new, and we've got a grad transfer at the other wing, and Ellie Mack wondering if she could play Power 5 basketball. So many unknowns. So we needed consistency, and we didn't get consistency until the end of January. That little stretch was the first time we had more than 5 games in a row all season. So it was choppy. We weren't good enough to close out teams early. It did look grim. We just basically said, we're going to make the best of this, continue to have fun every day, and keep working. And then Talia came. That was a little bit of breath of life for sure. It was perfect timing for us. And we got consistency in our schedule. And then obviously what everybody saw was, this team went down, beat UCLA at UCLA, went to Oregon, beat Oregon, and then beat Oregon again in the Pac-12 tournament. And I'm just wondering how many teams in the country could have done that in a 1 week's time. Not very many, and that's who this team became towards the end. And so this team learned how to defend, gave into what it took, and became a great team down the stretch. And we were a little disappointed, to be honest, with our seed in the tournament. That made the tournament. We would have loved to see South Carolina the second weekend instead of the first weekend, but I was proud of how this team rallied, stayed positive through it all. It was a great story, and that's the momentum that has fueled this offseason and continues to fuel. And this is a very competitive group, and they tasted it last year.
Yeah, and going off what he said, it was kind of like we had a few games that we had not played, and the season didn't look like it was going to turn out that well, and we all kind of just decided let's just have fun and play for each other. And so then we beat UCLA, and we were like, you know what, I think that we can keep running with this. So then we did, and I think that our season, like he said, the seeding really didn't help us, but I think that we did good, and it's fueled us for this next year.
Hey there, other Ann, Pac-12 Network.
Hi, Ann. Other Ann.
Never. Just wanted to follow up on that and know that during the time where you guys were dormant, if you will, during that time, what was the conversation like within the team and with Scott? How much were you able to see each other or not? Kind of what did you learn about that time? Because it was just the blows kept coming there for a while.
Well, during that time, we'd have a portion of our team. There was a stretch where we were practicing because we didn't have scout guys and we didn't have half our team. So the coaches were playing, which was fun. But for us as teachers, it was just, how are we? Absolutely. I hit 1 or 2 threes, I think. But the whole vibe was, let's make the best of this. And I think they would say, and it'd be good for you guys to comment on, they had stayed positive through it all. Our leadership was remarkable, actually. It was harder on me, I think, than it was them. They were like, hey, we knew this stuff's going to happen. We were kind of expecting it, and so it's okay, while I'm over here wanting to cry. And, so anyway, they were amazing through it all to stay positive.
Yeah, I think our upperclassmen, and especially Aaliyah Goodman, did really, really good at just reminding us that, like he said, that we knew that this was coming. At least we're getting to play. At least we're here. And I think that once COVID kind of settled down for our team and we were all able to be in the gym, that kind of made us just motivated us yay, we're finally here. We can all play together right now. And not take a day for granted, because you never know when someone's going to test positive, when you're going to be in quarantine. So it was just kind of take every day as best as you can and try your hardest and give your all for each other. And then I will say I wasn't here when that COVID stuff happened, but when I did get here and start practicing, what I'll say about the team is you never would have known all of that they went through, just the positive attitudes that they had and the mentality that they had going into that next stretch of games that ended up being a consistent schedule was incredible. And so, yeah, I was just happy to be a part of that.
Cindy Brunson, Pac-12 Network's play-by-play voice. Taylor, this is for you. I know you can rim protect like nobody's business, but you are a double-double waiting to happen every time you step on the floor. So I want to know specifically, what did you work on over the summer to improve your game?
Yeah, so this summer I've just been trying to get stronger and working on my shot form, hopefully to extend my game out further, just kind of like resetting that and kind of like relearning. He taught me, we sat in the gym for like hours at the beginning of the summer and just going back to the basics. I think he honed on that a lot, just going back to the basics with everything in my game and just fine-tuning all that because, he told me that that's what it will take. And so I trust him. So that's what we kind of worked on all summer, just getting in shape and getting stronger and working on the small details.
Okay. You guys have one of the most passionate fan bases in the conference. What's it going to be like to get fans back in the gym, and what's that going to mean for your level of play and just the energy?
I cannot wait. Last year, Empty Gill was not something that we really enjoyed, but we're extremely thankful and grateful that we're going to have everyone back this year. And it's just a crazy environment, one that it's once in a lifetime pretty much. And I'm just extremely excited, and having all the rest of the team. I mean, she's never played in front of a crowd in Gill. Half of our team hasn't. So we're really excited for all of them to experience it.
Yeah, and I mean, I'm having a hard time knowing what I'll do the first time. Last year, I don't ever want to make an excuse, but it was almost depressing for us to walk out into Gill with no one there and know that you're playing a game and you look down, there's another team. It literally felt like a scrimmage or a practice. And then, unfortunately, we got good at it. You didn't want to get used to it, but I think we all got used to it. And so to run out to the band and to the crowd that loves us so much and we love them is going to be emotional, probably to say the least. And I can't wait for all of them to experience it because that's what we promise, when we recruit them. I mean, nobody supports their team like ours. And so can't wait.
Alyssa Charleston, Pac-12 Network over here. For the players, and Taylor, I'll start with you since you're a little bit older. Last year, there was so much guilt that goes along with COVID. If a teammate tests positive, how did you guys handle that? Because I think that could have made a lot of teams stronger, but it also could have separated a lot of teams. So how did you guys handle, and it's every single team dealt with it, but how do you kind of handle that, the guilt or the blame, Taylor, and then I'll probably ask Coach the same thing.
Yeah, so when our first positive came up, the first beginning of the season, we hadn't been affected by it, and we looked around at like other sports at our school and was like, okay, yeah, we're like one of the last teams standing, I guess, and we kind of thought that it would never hit us. So whenever the first one hit us, we didn't really ask questions. Like, we didn't ask like, oh, were you like hanging out with other people? Or we didn't. And like he said, and like I said earlier, we kind of knew that this was going to happen. And we were just thankful that we got to play. And we knew that eventually that person was going to get out of quarantine, close contacts would. And we just never really questioned it. And also, if you look at the percentages of how many people actually got COVID, it was very, very widespread. I mean, you could get it going to the grocery store, just getting food. So we didn't really put any blame on each other. We just made sure that if someone was in quarantine, we just made sure that we kept on talking to them and made sure they didn't feel alone, because that is a place you can feel alone. You're literally alone by yourself for 2 weeks straight. So we just tried to stay together as a family and stay together, and we let it make us closer.
Yeah, I felt the same thing. I never felt that with them. I think, we talk family all the time, and, that means accepting, that means understanding, that means loving through everything, and not judging, but accepting. And so this group was such a great example of that. And that's what allowed us to have the year we did last year. Considering the fact that it was a rough start for us. It was frustrating. We could have chosen just to say, this year is over, let's move on to next year. But they didn't. They just kept fighting, and they stayed together through it all. And, I never felt as the leader that I needed to deal with any of those things. I never felt anything between them. I just felt acceptance and togetherness. It was awesome.
Thank you.
Great. That's about all the time we that's about all we have the time for this morning. Taylor, Talia, Scott, thank you so much. And Cal will be up next.
Thank you, John. Thank you, everyone. Go Beavs.